So today, what I want to do is I want to make sure that we keep this interactive. Some of our webinars, it's just me talking, but today what I really want to do is I want to address your questions as you have them and as I'm kind of going through the content and the concepts that I wanted to share with you. So if you have questions coming up, definitely throw them up in the chat box and I will try to get to them and talk through them as we're discussing that particular concept. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we'll get rolling. Nikki, you said the House is talking about it right now, but USA needs to allow for unvaccinated travel. Makes sense. All right. Hitting the go button. That was the wrong button. Let's try this again. All right, so today we're talking about how to take your business from zero to $685,000 in GCI. And that number is pretty specific because it's exactly what Rachel, my wife, and I did our first year in real estate. 2017 was our first year. We both got licensed back in January of 2017. And there's a story I'm going to share with you here in just a moment on what led us to real estate. But we ended up doing 79 transactions and about $685,000 in GCI, which in today's market is about $1.3 million. So it was a crazy year. The backstory on how we got there. So my wife, Rachel, and I, we owned a restaurant company. We acquired this company in 2008, and it was just one location. And we expanded that to 7 locations over a period of 10 years, or of 9 years rather. And we invested so much of our time and energy and money back into this company to help it grow. That company grew to have 450 employees in it. And it was a really, really great company filled with great people. And then in November of 2016, Washington State passed a minimum wage change, and they increased the minimum wage to $15 an hour in a lot of the locations that we had. So overnight, our overhead went up by about $50,000, and we could not pivot fast enough to keep our restaurant business going. So that company went out of business. It was a nightmare. It was a disaster. Those were some of the darkest days of my life. It was terrible to get through, but together, Rachel and I decided we were going to get into real estate and crush this. I had a background in real estate development. I grew up in a building family, and Rachel had a transaction coordination background in real estate from the early 2000s. So we're very familiar with real estate, and we kind of saw the writing on the wall in November when they changed that law and they enacted that change in minimum wage. So I got my license right in January 2017 and started going to work. And we still had the restaurant company, and it didn't end up closing until May of 2017. So 5 months later. So we only had about $10,000 in the bank total, not a whole lot of reserves. But we decided together that we were going to get this done, and that we were not going to just lay down and feel sorry for ourselves, but instead we were going to come out together unified and kick ass and get this done for our family and not just lay down and feel sorry for ourselves. So it was a tough year, but it was a year that I would never change ever. Like it's something that has really left me with a huge just a whole bunch of gratitude for where I'm at in my life today, because I know how shitty things can get. And a lot of those experiences I apply in the conversations I have with people today when they're going through tough times. So in that 12 months, again, we ended up doing 79 transactions, which is a decently strong year for your first year. And there's kind of a formula we followed to get there. And I didn't really realize we're following a formula until about a year after we went through this. And then I stepped back and I reflected on this crazy year of our life where we lost this company and then we gained our real estate team, and we really came out with a bang and came out swinging. And I got a chance to really think through what were the key concepts that led to this happening. And that's what I want to share with you today. So just to back up a little bit on who I am, my name is Mike Novak. I'm the team leader and agent for the Novak real estate team. We're part of REAL Brokerage, a cloud-based brokerage. We're in Everett, Washington, which is about 35 minutes north of Seattle. And we've got 3 amazing kids. We've got a 6-year-old, we've got a 10-year-old, and holy cow, we've got a teenager now. We've got a 13-year-old too. So my wife and I travel a lot. We spend a lot of time, the 2 of us. There's a picture of the 2 of us in Switzerland last year at the base of the Eiger hanging out. And there's a picture of us and our family in the Dominican Republic last year on a family vacation. I'm a lifter of heavy things. I like to go to the gym. Fitness is a big part of my mindset. It's a foundation for kind of how I start my day and my beliefs and everything else. And I also like to push the boundaries on everything, whether if it's fitness, if it's work. I always like to see how far we can push the envelope and see what is possible. It's just the way that I'm wired. If somebody tells me I can only do something, I immediately want to do more than that. And that's kind of the way that just the way I'm wired. So I broke the kind of takeaways from that first year in real estate down into 6 foundational concepts. And the first concept is that you need a why. And the why is so important. For us in 2017, our why was straight up pure survival. We knew that if we didn't roll our sleeves up and get to work fast, that our family wasn't going to be eating the next day. Like, it was literally that tight and that scary. So if you don't have a why, you're not going to push through the uncomfortable. And so I would challenge you to get really clear on, why does it matter to you to be able to do that kind of volume, 79 transactions, $600,000-$700,000 in GCI? Why does that matter to you? Why is it important? And I would challenge you to come up with a why that is bigger than just money. Because once you have that money, that why is now fulfilled, and you need something deeper and bigger than that. The tool that I like to use to get super clear on my why is what I call the 1-3-5. This is an old Keller Williams concept we used to do. And this is a business planning exercise that I do myself, I do for my team members, and for a lot of the agents that I mentor as well. Austin, this should look super familiar to you. It starts with the one main business objective. So getting very clear and granular on what are you out to achieve this year. And it could be a certain dollar amount. It could be just survival, like it was for us. Like our business objective was literally just to survive and have enough money to feed our kids. And then it goes down a step lower and gets clarity into what are the 3 goals to achieve that objective. So those 3 goals have to connect to your objective, and they should be very, very specific. And then following it down, there's 5 strategies for each one of those goals. So I would go through this exercise if you don't have complete clarity on what your why is. Why is it important to you to build a successful team or to build a successful business? And if you don't have clarity on that why, you have to start there. That is absolutely foundational to being able to push through the uncomfortable. And when motivation starts to wane, which it will, when you start to get tired, you're going to come back to this why. It's going to be the fuel to your fire. And it's absolutely important to have complete clarity to this. So if you don't have this document, and if it's something you want, I'll share my email at the end of this webinar, and you can send me an email, I'll send you a copy of it to fill out. But I love this tool for getting super clear on what my why is and how I'm going to get there. That's the first concept. Concept number 2. You need a model. So it's a lot easier to get somewhere if you know exactly what the roadmap looks like to get to that destination. So the way that Rachel and I broke this up, we split up our business to where I took buyers and she took sellers. We just split it in half. And we did that within a month or 2 of getting into real estate. We each tried taking buyers and sellers, and we realized quickly that they were 2 really different types of business. Like for us, the listings were very logistics driven and really expectations management and marketing driven. And the buyer side was just a lot of showing homes and a lot of coaching these clients and being there for them through these tough times and helping them make such a big decision as buying a home. So she wanted to do the listings, and I was happy to do either the listings or the buy side. So I ended up on the buy side, which is where I'm still at today. So this is kind of what our business looked like. It was very simple. We had me as a buyer agent, we had Rachel as a listing agent, and we added an admin in October of 2017. So we pushed it for 10 months, just the 2 of us. But at one point we looked around at each other in September, and we had 17 pendings just between the 2 of us. And we were doing our own transaction coordination. Like, we hadn't hired that out. We were doing all of our own listing coordination. We had no showing leverage at all. So we were just kind of doing everything. And we realized very quickly that the most logical thing to do would be to hand off our transaction coordination and our listing coordination. So that's why we added an admin. There's a very specific formula that we like to follow when it comes to hiring people. It's a 9-step process that Eric Hatch has developed, that he trains a lot of his sandbox and coaching clients to use. And that's the process that we like to follow when we're going to make a hire. It's a slow process, but ensures that you make the right hire when you are ready to add somebody to your team. But I think if you're going to try to hit 79 units, you're going to need some type of admin support. If it was just me, like if Rachel hadn't been in the business and I was the sole person, this is the way that I would have built the operation. So it would have been me as the rainmaker. I would have had an admin that's doing listing coordination and transaction management for me. I would have had another admin that is doing marketing mostly and personal assistant type work and probably showing some houses. And then also a full-time showing partner that its sole job is to show homes and provide leverage for me on inspections, key handoffs, things like that. This model is small, but this is a super profitable, powerful model. With the right rainmaker, if you can handle a huge capacity and you hire the right people, you could do 150 to 200 transactions just running with these 4 people. It's super powerful if it's done right. And if it was going to be just me, then this is exactly how I would have done it. All right, so we've covered the first 2 concepts. Concept 1 was why you need a why. Concept 2 is you need a model. Concept number 3 is you need to identify, develop, master, and hone in your lead sources. So I am not a big fan of having 10 or 20 lead sources. There's some coaching companies out there that tell you, hey, have 10, 15 lead sources, and every lead source you add is going to add X amount of transactions for you. I don't like that strategy at all personally, and that's not what we did. We chose to really get specific on 2 or 3 different lead sources and go very, very deep on those sources. So our processes were developed at a super high level. We honed our skill set at a super high level as well, to be able to work with those type of lead sources. So I break them down into 2 different categories. And the one on the left is if you have time but don't have a lot of money. And the one on the right is if you have a lot of money or even some money, but don't have a lot of time. So for us, we had a little bit of money. We had $10,000, which wasn't much, but we were also creating closings every month really quickly. We didn't even realize it until around October of 2017. But in May, when we lost our restaurant company, one of the darkest days of Rachel's in my life, it was a disaster. It was a nightmare day. That same month was actually the first month that we broke $100,000 in GCI, which is absolutely crazy if you just think about the emotional roller coaster that goes with that. We didn't even know it at the time though, because we didn't have the financial controls to even track how much money we were making. We were literally just in survival mode. So we were closing a deal, we were throwing a check in a file, we weren't even throwing it in the bank, and we were just going back to the next deal. And once we went back and did the accounting later, we went back and reflected and realized that we actually closed that $100,000 in May. And that was a powerful moment for her and I to look at each other and say, wow, we really pushed through this together. So, but if you've got the money, then I really like these lead sources: pay-per-click, realtor.com, Zillow, and dynamic retargeting. If you don't have money, like if you're really tight, I would go deep on open houses. Open houses tend to be a very bottom of funnel type lead. Like these people are actively on the hunt for a home and they may not have an agent. So I would get in front of open houses for sure. Oftentimes agents in our markets allow other agents to do their open houses, which is awesome. Lisa, you asked a question, who are you using for circle dialing? So what is the name of that program? Mojo is what we use. Like we basically dropped a radius on a house and then pulled a circle around it, exported the data, and then threw it on a dialer to call. So the 3 lead sources that we went deep on was pay-per-click. We didn't have enough money to do realtor.com and Zillow at that time, but we absolutely did to do pay-per-click. And so pay-per-click is where somebody goes and Googles houses for sale, in Everett, and all of a sudden we show up and they're looking at a list of houses on our website and we capture their information and then we're able to reach out to them. Austin is saying we use RedX and it's been very effective in the Pacific Northwest and the Midwest. Yeah, I think we played with RedX too and kind of had that same experience. It was pretty good. And so I think some of the quality of the data can vary from market to market, but we had good experiences with Mojo and with RedX. So do you use Ylopo for pay-per-click or another source? So we do use Ylopo for pay-per-click, but we also use our Sierra website, Sierra Interactive, which I'll talk about here in a little bit. And so we partner with Driven Leads. Nick Kramer is his name. He's done our pay-per-click management and he directs people to our Sierra site. I've worked with Nick since my first day in real estate, and we've closed more than $3 million over the last 5 years in commissions from pay-per-click leads that he's generated. So he's very, very good at what he does. Ylopo does a really good job on pay-per-click as well, and we do use them as well. They just, that sends the traffic to our Ylopo site, whereas Nick sends the traffic to our Sierra site. So are you using Ylopo right now, Tamara? So on pay-per-click, again, people just Google it and they land on your site, and then you follow up with them. And pay-per-click leads typically take like 12 to 18 months to convert, which is a pretty long cash conversion cycle. Like it's going to take you a long time to get the money back that you spent. But we have discovered that with the right follow-up cadences, pay-per-click tends to convert about 1% within the first 90 days. So you can convert it relatively quickly if your follow-up systems are right and if you're very disciplined with calling and texting and have dialed in action plans and things like that. So we did pay-per-click. That was our first source that we went really deep on. The second one was database. Like we just started building a large database of people with Facebook ads, and we started video retargeting these people. So video retargeting, I'm a huge fan of. I always tell people that the next best thing to somebody meeting with me for a buyer consultation or listing appointment is to consume and watch my videos, where I can get very articulate on a concept, whether if it's a market report or 10 ways to make your offer stand out, or 3 reasons why you should sell right now, or how to buy and sell at the same time. Whatever it is that you're doing for video, I like to put those videos back in front of people that have already been on my website. So we did retargeting right out of the gates, year 1. It was huge for us. I would shoot a market report video every month, and then I'd shoot 1 or 2 other videos just based on things I was seeing. What I would do is if I get asked a question multiple times by clients or leads, I would typically write that down. That'd be my video content, is to shoot a video to address that question and then put it back in front of my people. Tamara, you said you were using Ylopo and just need to be in a better place to stay. Yeah, I hear you on that for sure. I would check out Sierra. Sierra's team does do pay-per-click, and they do it. I think it's included if it's lower than $1,000 a month on spend. We spend with the size of our team right now, $7,000 or $8,000 a month on pay-per-click. So Nick does all of ours, but either one of them are going to do really good for you. So we did pay-per-click and we did database with video retargeting. And then we started leaning into our sphere of influence. And so we did client events almost immediately, where we invited people to client events and just reaching out to people we know and just invited them to come out. So it's not just clients, but it's friends and family as well. And it's one way just to kind of offer people a value without asking for anything. Like, hey, we've got this event going on, come by, say hi, have a beer, hang out, bring your kids. We got all these activities going on, and come get to know us a little bit better. Rob, you said the majority of your sphere is not the home buying selling type. How do you expand your SOI to get more actual buyers, sellers, especially when it comes to listings? Rob, can you explain to me why you think that they're not the home buying and selling type? I just would love to go deeper on that. Like, are you saying that your friends are just renters mostly, or what are you really saying there? They don't have the money or good jobs. Well, you need better friends, Rob. I'm just kidding. That's an interesting question. I would start probably building a network group of some kind, Rob, like with people that, that are just professionals, that are people you may be doing business with, like title, like, mortgage, life insurance, people like that. And I would elevate your sphere a little bit, and just get friends that have some more money. That's a funny question. Yeah, Lisa nailed it right there. Join a local BNI with your open houses. Yeah, I love that idea. So those were the 3 that we did. But again, we went super deep on what our processes were for each of them. And that's what really helped us build a lot of success right out of the gates with it. So concept number 3 was developing your lead sources and going deep with them. Concept 4 is the perfect daily schedule. So this is something that I talk to agents about all the time. I've shot a lot of videos about this. And even experienced agents that seem like they're really successful, when you unpack their habits and their daily rhythms, they have no structure to it whatsoever. It's a blessing and a curse in real estate that you have complete freedom to do whatever you want when you want to do it. And if you take that too far, it can be a real disaster to having successful habits that are actually going to align with getting you to the goals that you want to be at. So I firmly believe that figuring out what the perfect schedule is for you and how you operate is really important to getting to where you want to go. This is the schedule that I followed at the time, and I'll break it down for you. At 4:30, I'd wake up, and I always start my day with 2 things. Well, actually 3 things. The first thing is coffee, because I got to have caffeine to get going that early. The second thing, I'll sit down on the couch with that cup of coffee, and I'll go through my affirmations, just speaking into existence things that are going to come true for me and that I'm going to make happen. Things like I'm going to be $1 million real estate agent. I'm going to help 13 people this month buy or sell a home. People need and are waiting for my help, and it's my responsibility to reach out to them and provide the expertise that they need. Total mindset affirmations. And I do this for 10 minutes a day, and I did them every day. I still do them today. They've changed, but I still am committed to the habit. And then gratitude as well as something else that I do. I just sit down and I journal out 5 or 6 things that I'm grateful for. It could be my kids, it could be my marriage, it could be my fitness, it could be the people I get to work with and help every day. Whatever I'm grateful for at that moment, I write it down because I want to start from a position of being really thankful for what I've got and not thinking about what I don't have. And back in 2017, I didn't have a lot of money, but I didn't want to think about that. I wanted to think about all the great things I did have. Austin, you want to send those out? Also, do you eat lunch? I didn't eat lunch in 2017. I ate lunch on the go in between appointments, basically. Yes, I will send out the schedule. And then I'd go to the gym. So like I said, for me and Rachel, both of us, fitness is really a foundational pillar for us to have a good mindset and to feel really good. Jason, you're a jerk, but yeah, I do eat a few lunches these days. I believe in getting to the gym though and taking care of yourself. It's something I've talked to Jason about, and it's something that's really important to just having a great mindset and starting your day off right. You know, you go to the gym to feel good, and the side benefit of that is you end up looking good as well. When I don't work out, then I start eating poorly, then my energy goes down, and it just kind of craters from there. So no matter how busy I got in 2017, I still worked out, and I did not miss the gym sessions at all. At 7:30 a.m., Rachel and I would hit our role plays together. It was super awkward role playing with your wife only for an entire year, but we still did it because we knew that it was more important to practice on each other than it was to practice on the leads that we were paying for. So we would role play every single day, and we did it for a full half hour, just going back and forth on different scenarios and really sharpening our sword and developing our lead conversion skills. We'd never been in real estate sales before, so this was all new for us, and we had to learn that skill set. At 8 o'clock, we did a huddle as just the two of us kind of debriefing on what's going on, what are our priorities for the day, what did we get done yesterday, just kind of making sure that we're in sync, because typically for the rest of the day after huddle, we would not see each other again because we just kind of go our separate directions and take care of the priorities that we had in our part of the business. At that point, we'd move on to prospecting unmets. So that would be people that we've, just as the name implies, we have not met with yet. These are follow-ups, these are new leads, things like that. But we had very specific time, and we never wavered from this time to make our follow-up calls, get on the phone and respond to texts and things like that. This is probably the most important habit that you do that's going to help you build a very robust pipeline very, very quickly. If you haven't read Fanatical Prospecting, I would absolutely check that out. It's a great book, and it talks about how if you just commit to the discipline of making your follow-ups consistently for even 30 days, you will notice all of a sudden you've got a pipeline that's occurring, and that's 100% true. Mantel, how many days a week in the gym? So I think you want to go a minimum of 3 or 4 days. For me, it's 5 to 6 days. But again, for me, it's not really like work. It's something that brings me joy. You know, if you don't like working out, like some people don't, then 3 or 4 days is plenty, I think. You know, when you get to more advanced levels and you just really like the gym, I think 5 or 6 days is really good. 10:30 to 11:30 was prospecting and nurturing clients. So people we'd already met with, we needed to do follow-up calls with these people. These are people we're showing houses to, listings that were not signed yet, and then also all of our pendings as well, and active clients that were, you know, either under contract or on the market. At that point, we would shift from working in the business and we'd start working on the business. So this is really, really important if you're trying to grow your business quickly, is that you take a step back every day and you carve out a period of time to actually work on your business and move the ball down the field on your processes, your systems, your operations, your marketing, all of these things you need to build out. And you need to spend a couple hours doing it each and every single day. And then from 2 to 6 o'clock, we'd be on listing appointments or buyer appointments. And then I was showing a lot of my own houses at that time. So I'd be out showing homes frequently as well. We would not meet with people in the morning. We just simply told them that we didn't have any openings at that time. And we'd push people, always to that 2 to 6 o'clock range, so that it was the time that we really hadn't intentionally set aside to meet with them and to really stay focused on our our prospecting. What I've discovered that a lot of agents do is they let clients start to infringe on their prospecting time, and that keeps you from building the pipeline that you're going to need, and getting the next deal or the next appointment that's 30 or 90 days out from being a paycheck for you. And you're just kind of focusing on the person that needs the most attention today. And I think it's a huge mistake to make. This is what my schedule looks like right now. And you'll notice it's really similar to what you see that I recommended in the first year. There's a lot going on here. I just moved my wake up time to 3:30 in the morning from 4:30. I like to get up even earlier now, just because it's quiet time. It's time to get ahead. I like to get in the gym really early too. So I go to the gym at 4:30, and then the day is pretty much the exact same as what it was before. You can see I still have this time for internal meetings. It's purple there. And then I've got some marketing time. NPT is one of the most important times of the day. And I even did this in 2017. NPT stands for no phone time. So it's a time where I actually put my phone down, I spend time with my family, I'm present for them, and I'm not connected to my phone for a full-blown hour, and I'm not distracted. It's super important to be present with your kids and your family for at least an hour a day, even if you're crazy busy. Where is kid time, school, and their activities? So that's a good question, Holly. The way that Rachel and I have broken up our schedules, she handles a lot of our kids stuff. And we also have a full-time, or not a full-time, but like a mostly full-time nanny that takes our kids to school. So she takes the kids to school every day. I take them on Thursdays when I'm not in the gym. And then either Rachel, a nanny, or myself picks them up, depending on which day of the week it is. If I don't have appointments, then I'll typically go pick them up. If Rachel doesn't have appointments, then she'll go pick them up. If we both have appointments, then the nanny goes and picks them up from school and brings them to jiu-jitsu. Our kids, both our older kids do jiu-jitsu. Our youngest does gymnastics, and either the nanny or Rachel typically drive them around. Rachel only meets with clients 2 evenings a week. She's set aside, I think it's Tuesdays and Thursdays that she meets with clients. And so she's pretty disciplined on her time. And those are just like the time slots that she has available. She does Tuesday, Thursday evenings, and then every other Saturday. So yeah, I definitely get that trying to get a schedule for that is difficult. I would think about, maybe getting some leverage for yourself on that. Yeah, your nanny is your showing partner for your personal life. You nailed it. We did have a nanny. In fact, in 2017, we had 2 full-time nannies because we needed that leverage. We knew that we had to really knuckle down on our business, and we had to be available for our clients. So 2017 was a season of life where we didn't spend as much time with our family as we do now. It was more of a survival year for us. And we had a nanny come at 4:30 in the morning, and then around 2:30, that nanny would be relieved by another nanny. And then, that nanny would be there until about 7 or 8 o'clock at night when we got home from our appointments. And then we'd briefly hang out with our kids. So Jerry, yep, I will definitely send you out the recording. No worries, man. Go get a deal done. All right, we've gone through 4 concepts so far. Concept number 5 is that you need coaching and accountability. So I am a huge, huge, huge fan of coaching. I've had a coach since day 1 in real estate. I've coached with a handful of different coaches over the years. I currently coach with Eric Hatch and have for a couple of years now. And I really firmly believe that the investment you make into coaching will be the best ROI if you're an implementer, if you're committed to following what they ask you to do, even if it makes you uncomfortable, and if you get the right fit as a coach. So I have a fitness coach today. I have a business coach as well. I have a financial coach. And I really do believe that when you get the right coaching, you can shorten the time you get from point A to point B. And I don't think we would have sold 79 homes our first year in real estate if we wouldn't have had a coach, to be completely honest with you, because we wouldn't have known exactly what to do. And we wouldn't have had somebody kind of co-piloting the business with us. I really think a good coach makes themselves accessible to you in between the calls. Obviously there's going to be structured calls that you do with your coach, but I think a really good coach like Eric, they're available to you as you need to talk to them. So I would talk to my coach pretty much every day. I still talk to Eric every day or every other day on Marco Polo, and just ask him questions like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. What do you think about that? And I would not make a big decision without bouncing off my coach just to make sure I was not making a big mistake. So I think getting a coach is really important to get to where you want to be. But how do you hire a coach? If you get the wrong fit, it can be a complete disaster and it can be a complete waste of money. I've seen that as well. The first coach I had in real estate, I didn't think was good at all. I'm not going to name any names, but it just wasn't a good fit for me. Like the person didn't push me hard enough. I wanted someone who was going to push me a lot harder than they could. Yeah, Austin, you know all about this, buddy. Austin was a coach at one point too. Holly, tell Eric to take me on. He's got a long waiting list right now, but I'll put in a good word for you. I believe that you should talk to other agents and agents that have been where you want to go. I think a good real estate coach should have also done what you're trying to do. That way they're not teaching you theory, but they're teaching you what's actually worked for them. So I think it's super important that they've achieved what you want to achieve. And that's one of the reasons I like Eric is Eric has been where I want to go. He's, he sells 1,000 homes a year. So it's pretty hard to outgrow that. But I think that really making sure that the coach has actually been in real estate sales is pretty dang important to having a successful relationship with that coach and to actually getting the guidance you need that's going to work and be tangible. So you should definitely do your homework on their success and understand, who have they coached before? What did that look like? Talk to a couple of clients that they're coaching right now, or they've coached in the past. That could be a referral for you. And ask those clients if they know anyone else that's coached with that coach can give you their contact information for. That way you're going a couple layers deep past just the original referral that the coach gave you and seeing what somebody else has to say about them. I would also ask your coach how available they're going to be. Some coaches will not talk to you in between calls. And for me, that would never work. I need accessibility. And so I expect a coach to be as committed to my success as I am if I'm going to be paying them to coach me. And so I have very high expectations for a coach, and that's not a fit for a lot of coaches. And so I like to lay those expectations out very clearly up front and ask them if they're going to communicate quickly back to me, what kind of expectations I can have for that. So I would just lay that out up front and figure out how they like to communicate too. Some coaches like to communicate on email, some it's text, and with Eric, it's Marco Polo. I love Marco Polo because you can see the whites of their eyes, you can get context into things beyond just text. So I think Marco Polo is the way to do it for sure. All right, we're down to the final concept. Concept number 6, you need the right technology. So without the previous 5 concepts, this step doesn't really have any use. It's not going to have any impact on your business. You have to nail the first 5. But if you get the first 5 right, then this one can be a force multiplier. So here's the tech stack that we use on our team. And this is the stack we used then and that we still use now. The first one is Sierra Interactive. So like I said earlier, I'm a huge fan of Sierra. We've been using them almost since day one in real estate. I love that they have an IDX website and a CRM, like it's one package together. It has a pretty open API. It's not like Boomtown or Commissions Inc., where it doesn't integrate with anything. That drives me nuts. But I love the user experience, like what the user sees when they're browsing homes on the Sierra site. And I love how powerful the CRM is. The CRM allows you to text the people, and it's just super, super robust. There's different CRMs that you actually can't use automated text on. And I think that's a really big issue right now with how most people are preferring to communicate on text versus a phone call. They also can do dynamic retargeting for you. So if you don't have the budget to use Ylopo for that, Sierra can do that for you as well. They have a really, really robust mobile app. So if you're on the go a lot, you can also, be totally mobilized and be using the app as you're going from appointment to appointment. I live in the app. Like I'll use it on my couch at home. I'll use it, in between appointments when I'm in my car. I'm always in that app, just responding back to people and text and property inquiries. You can make calls through the dialer on there. It's just super powerful. Daniel, how do you differentiate listing alerts via Ylopo and Sierra? Do you use both, or only one or the other? Do Ylopo leads stay in the Ylopo ecosystem and vice versa Sierra? Oh, that's a great question, Daniel. So we were part of the integration kind of team that worked with both Ylopo and with Sierra to get those systems to talk together, because they didn't used to integrate at all. But about a couple of years ago, they actually built the integration, and it's pretty good. But when one of our leads comes in, whether if it comes in from Ylopo or from Sierra or from Realtor.com or Zillow or any other source, it creates a listing alert in both systems, both in Ylopo and in Sierra. You don't have to do it that way. I do it that way because most people are going to go to 4 or 5 different websites anyways, and I'd rather have them getting emails from me twice, than just getting 5 from different teams. So we have a site that's branded to the Novak team, and then we have a site that's just branded to Washington State. And so they don't always put together, they're coming from the same people, even though they are, and the emails look completely different as well. I think Ylopo probably has better email deliverability on getting their listing alerts in the inbox than Sierra does, but Sierra does pretty good with it as well. Let's just see, got some questions here. Follow Up Boss is pretty rad too. Yeah, Holly, we used Follow Up Boss a little bit. I think as a CRM, it's really, really good. The one drawback it has to it is you can't send automated texts. And that was a really big problem for us. But if you love it, then by all means, keep using it. For Sierra, do you have multiple MLS systems, and how does that work with Sierra? I'm not sure I'm understanding that. We only have one MLS in our market. So Eric, yes, we will have a replay available. I'll send it all out to you guys. Melanie, sorry to hear that about Wailopo. I've seen a lot of that same thing where people are taken care of when they have larger teams, and they're not taken care of as well when they're smaller. So I'm so sorry to hear that. Holly, you can now. Well, that's really cool. Awesome. Austin, you got a huge MLS. Yeah, the NWMLS where Austin and I are at is enormous. It covers a ton of different counties and, you know, like probably 100 different cities. So it's pretty huge, but there's not multiple MLSs in our specific market. So check out Sierra Interactive if you're looking for a site and a CRM. Like Holly said, Follow Boss is also really good. That's probably my second favorite right after Sierra. So Hatch Systems is the second piece of tech that we use. And Hatch Systems is really like an operating system for Sierra Interactive. So you can directly import this into Sierra, and it's going to include things like action plans, smart lists, tags, filters, automations, all of these just kind of systems you need to have in your CRM. So you're not left trying to recreate the wheel and figure out what works and what doesn't. Robbie T, who is one of the best ISA coaches on the planet, and who was an ISA coach, or who was an ISA at Hatch Realty before he got into coaching, he wrote all these action plans himself. And it's literally the next best thing to having Robbie as your personal ISA. So I'm a huge fan of Hatch Systems. About 70% of our appointments come off of these automated plans because people really do prefer to respond on text versus a phone call. They're okay if you use text to lead to a phone call, but they want you to start with the texts, if that makes sense. Holly, do you have to be in coaching, or can you get these? You don't have to be in coaching to get those. It's an additional product they sell. And you can just reach out to Robbie, or I can connect you and Robbie together, and he can help you get them in there. He does work with Follow Up Boss. How many hours are you sleeping a night? I average about 5 hours a night, so it's not a lot. But some people need more sleep, some people need less. Like I know my wife needs a few more hours a night than I do, and everyone's different when it comes to sleep. What I will typically do is I'll sleep in a little later on Sundays, and I'll kind of like catch back up my sleep a little bit if I'm feeling kind of worn out and tired. But I'll push myself pretty hard during the week, and I'll go to bed by 10 o'clock or so, and then back up at 3:30. But sleep is very individualized. Like some people need very little, and some people need a lot more. So it's really unique to the person. It's not a one size fits all when it comes to sleep. But back to Hatch Systems, I just love the power of it. And like I said, about 70% of our appointments come off of just responding back to these people when they respond to us. There's an action plan for every scenario that you can think of, whether if it's follow-ups, nurtures, traditional action plans, whatever you need, it's all in there. And it's actually all tested, not just like throwing something against the wall and hoping it sticks. Will, how is your year looking this year? How many closed and pending for quarter 1? We're about 40 million right now and about 52 units, I want to say. So yeah, it's okay. Like the volume is good. The units are down a little bit actually from last year, just because we have so many clients trying to get under contract that have not gotten under contract yet. Let me know how you're doing, Will, too. I'd love to hear more about that. Our team did about 3.5 million in GCI last year, and we'll probably do 4 million this year, just depending on how the market goes. So the next tech that we use is CSU. CSU is a data analytics system, and it talks directly to Sierra Interactive. I'm going to show you a dashboard of it here in just a moment, but it's going to track things like your appointment set, you're met, you're signed, you're pending, you're closed. It's going to track your lead source ROI. So you know how much is your cost per closing by lead source. Like if I close a pay-per-click lead, how much did it cost me to get that closing? Super important information that allows you to make informed data-backed decisions. And it's kind of your compass on what you should start, stop, or scale when it comes to lead sources. Don't guess on which lead sources are working, but look at the data to know exactly which one is. Do I use OSERS? I'm not familiar with that, Holly. Can you explain to me what that is? Our Sierra is connected to CSU. I think it's through Zapier. The CSU team set it all up for us. But I'm a huge fan of tracking your data. If you're just starting out, CSU can feel a little bit expensive, but as you grow your team, it's not as bad. It's a company that sets it all up. No, that's cool though, Holly. It's a lot to set up. So if there's somebody out there that helps you with it, That's really cool. I'll have to check that out. And then the last piece is Ylopo. We've been using Ylopo for quite a long time. We were one of the first people over there in our area. And I love Ylopo for the dynamic retargeting, the fact that it tags these leads as they take specific actions on your site and come back to the site is super cool. The fact it can put the listings in their news feed that's relevant to their location and the price range that they're looking at is also really cool. And then also the listing reports they give you are pretty awesome too. Like you can literally go into your database before you go on a listing appointment with Ylopo, and you can look up exactly how many buyers you have in your database that are looking for a home like the home you're about to go on the listing appointment for, which is really powerful information to share with the seller. So I'm a fan of Ylopo. I'm sorry if somebody else had a bad experience with it. For us, it's been good, but I have heard, it can be hit or miss. This is what CSU looks like. So this is the dashboard, and this is my personal dashboard. So just my own volume. I'm still in production, even with the size team we have. I still sell houses myself. And so this was my personal production last year. It shows my closed volume, closed units, total volume. And then you can see down here, it's going to start with appointments set is the first stacked dial there. And then appointments met, signed, under contract, and closed. And so this is combining go and shows with buyer consultations. So you have to take it with a little bit of a grain of salt. But it's going to really show you where you have opportunity in your funnel to improve your conversion rates. So typically, if the appointment set ratio to met is falling off, then we look at the quality of the conversation. We use this as kind of a coaching tool with our ISAs or our agents. If the met to signed ratio is off, then you look at the quality of the appointment. Like, are we really setting up a qualified appointment, or is this person not really ready to meet? And then also the closing skills of the agent. So that's CSU in a nutshell. That's just one of the reports that are in there. There are a lot of other ones as well. And again, it's super, super robust. Mantel, any required books to read? So, man, I'm a huge fan of reading. Some of the books that I love Extreme Ownership by Jocko. I love The Dichotomy of Leadership by him as well. I love The Compound Effect. I love The 4 Disciplines of Execution. I love Relentless by Tim Grover. Those are some of my favorites. Fanatical Prospecting as well, like I mentioned earlier. So I like to read a lot. All right, those are the 6 key concepts. And so it's now your turn to go implement. I want you guys to go away from this with some actionable steps that you can go take. I don't want you just to have come to this webinar, consume the information, then go back to whatever you were doing before. If you're really committed to increasing your business and having a successful year, then you're going to want to take these steps. First of all, get super clear on your why. If you need a copy of the 135, you can totally hit me up on Facebook or send me an email. My email is mike@novakteam.com, and I will send you a copy of it so you can fill it out. Figure out your perfect daily schedule and hone that in. The third is identify and develop processes on all 3 of your lead sources. 3 is kind of like the minimum, but it was the sweet spot for us. Figure out what those are going to be and how you're going to do them at a super deep level. And then clarify your model and how you're going to do that. Like, are you going to stay small, or is your goal to get large? That's going to affect how you grow your team today. And then figure out who could be a good coach for you as well. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram. You can hit me up on Marco Polo. I'm going to send out this replay to everyone that registered for it. We had a couple hundred people, which is awesome. And I'm going to make sure everyone gets a copy of it. Tamara Birch, you bet. Thanks so much for hopping on. Thanks for the kind comments. If anyone has any other questions, we've got a couple minutes. I'm happy to answer them if you've got them. Otherwise, we can wrap this up here and get everyone else going back to what they were doing or to implementing. Any other questions? Going once. Chadwick, thanks, brother. I appreciate it. Going twice. Sold. All right, guys. Have a great Thursday. Oh, Karen, what does our current team look like? We have 15 people on our team, 6 agents, handful of partners, handful of admin, do about 250 transactions a year. And like I said, about 3.5 million in volume. Ben, what's up, buddy? I hope that's helpful, man. Hope you're doing good down there in Florida. Awesome. I'll catch you guys later.